get into it tonight. Welcome back to Calling All Beings. I'm your host, DJ. Not only do we have a big announcement, but we're not going to tell you about that tonight, but we are here to hang out with a couple of legends. We got the senior legend who done begot the junior legend, and we got them both here. And thank goodness that our friend Terry made this happen. So before we get into all that, my brother from another who has done all this hard work and put up with my last minute shenanigans, Money Nathan.
What's everybody? Hey, for a second there, I thought you were calling me a senior legend, and I wasn't sure what it meant. So,
at your age, Nathan, no, I'm sorry.
Not yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, everybody. I'm getting there.
Too much hair and too much good looks. So I'm about to be 57 on Monday. So, and I think there was a Chevy people liked by that year. So
that's right. Many people don't know this, but DJ and my oldest son have the same birthday. So happy birthday in advance to you. Yeah.
And Andy McGrillen.
Amazing. Just amazing. At any rate, awesome. It's great to be with you on Wednesday night. Great to be with all of you in the audience. Looking forward to tonight's show. We really do have two amazing guests to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch. So I'm very excited to get into it with them.
Got things going down on her property. Amen. All right.
Amen.
Before that, Debs, it's Debs. You're willing to, first of all, say hello, Daniel. First of all, Julie, thank you for making it in. I don't know how the hell you did it, because you were down. She went and drove a friend to the doctor, down in another city in Alabama. And Daniel Lee Barnett, the British Bigfoot legend. Terry hasn't heard about Daniel Barnett. Arla hasn't heard about Daniel Barnett. He's a 14-year-old that has written a book on Bigfoot and is getting ready to hold his second conference in the UK. I want an amen for that, but we have to amen our guest first. So, Daniel, you're going to have to wait. You're going to be a guest here in a couple months. So, Deb, thank you for making it in here. Julie as well. And now, this gentleman here has joined us. This is the second time that he's been on Cab. He was solo guest the first time. And I was really struck by listening to the what happened to him as a result of our second guest, whom I didn't know he was speaking of when he first told the story. And this gentleman is the chief of Rock Hill Bigfoot in South Carolina. And it says respect between us. And I kind of thought about how I would want to interact or view Bigfoot, Sasquatch in their house when I'm out in the woods and I'm in search of them. And so I was inspired to have this gentleman on, and boy, did he not disappoint. He's just really a bright light. So party people, put those hands together for my man coming back, Terry Windell.
What's up, guys? What's up? Man, that's a tall order. You built me up pretty big there. I'm a little worried. I got big shoes to fill.
Well, I said to you the other night, you're awesome, Terry. And you're like, what? Me? Why? I'm like, what do you mean? Because you're you. Come on.
Well, I appreciate that. It still to this day amazes me that people actually want to hear me talk about this stuff. I'm just a guy out in the woods trying to figure out what's going on.
You know what? But you do it in such a way, right, Nathan? Like he really has that. Yeah. He kind of reminds me of Sibylla a lot. He just has that presence about him,
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So his mentor is this next young lady right here who has a foot, actually like the photo of her doing the sort of Bigfoot cross-country skier walk. She must have been a very young girl when she took that photo. You guys have seen her, as she mentioned, in Flash of Beauty, and I've seen 1 and 2. I think she was in 1, but she may have been in both, for all I know. And Rick was definitely in 2, because we had Rick Taylor on as well. He was one of our very early, very first Bigfoot guests. He might have been our second Bigfoot guest. And so this woman is famous for having this property in Oklahoma that is prolific in terms of as a habituation site. And people have had their first really, really big encounter, or at least encounter that didn't verify them on her property. So party people, put those hands together for Oklahoma's own Miss Arla Williams.
Oh, good grief.
Can I get an amen for Arla?
A legend, no senior. Yes, I trump all of you guys in age. I'll be 75 my birthday. So
Wait a minute, you're older than me at 57?
yes,
awesome.
I'm older than a lot of people. Actually.
And maybe in some ways younger than a lot of people, right?
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. Terry will probably attest to that.
Arla's
So,
amazing.
thank you guys for having me on. And he's kind of special to me
He is.
too.
I'll shut you.
He's a good guy, and I've met through the years. Of course, I've been in this a long time in my life, almost 70 years of knowing, but in the life of the Bigfoot community, I've been around for quite a while and hadn't changed my story yet. So,
And
but
I don't
yeah,
expect you're going to.
no, not at this late date. I don't think so. So, but one thing, I am not a habituator. Believe me, I don't want to change anything about them. I mean, this is a lifelong thing with them. I'm not a researcher. I don't research to try to prove things.
Right.
I'm just somebody who, had a very early encounter with them and had a grandmother that knew all about them. And that's her photo where she's doing the Bigfoot walk. And that's early 50s.
Oh, that's her.
That's my grandmother.
Wow.
That's
Okay,
early
that's right.
50s.
Okay. Wow.
And I hadn't seen that photo before until just a few years before she died. She wanted to give me some photos and stuff, and we were looking at that. And I said, Gran, what are you doing? And she said, I'm doing the walk. So that was pretty much. So she was prior to Patterson Gimlin and
Yes.
Cruz and all of them. She knew and just decided she was going to get her picture made doing it. So
Yeah, so Jerry Crew is the guy who cast that first print.
yes,
And I think named it Bigfoot.
yes.
And in the news story that covered that. And the fact that this predates it means that it wasn't an impression of Patty. It was before we knew that Patty existed. Obviously, your grandma knew that Bigfoot existed.
Oh yeah. She knew her whole life, So at age 6 is when my actual knowing and interaction started with them. So, and I'm almost 75, so that's a long time ago.
You look phenomenal, darling. There's two things. First, I want to say hi to Vinny in the chat. Hi, Vinny. Disclosure team. And second, Arla, if you can just keep an eye, you can see the water behind me. If you see a shark coming up behind me, please let me know, okay?
What do you want me to let you know about?
You can't see the water. See the ocean. You can see the... I'm supposed to be in the water. Sorry. Okay.
See? You guys are way too high tech for me. All I got's my tie dye behind me.
I'll take a tie dye any day. I would have See, if I knew you were into tie dye, these guys know that I have a tie dye dress shirt, so I would have worn that tonight.
He has at least one. I think he's got more than one, probably. So.
Yeah, you should have left that out of the bio. I like tie dye. I would have done that. Hi, Carolina. So, anyway, let me get to Money Nathan with his first question, and we're gonna just keep going. We'll keep going around. We'll vacillate between you and Terry and the way we do. Like I'll ask some Nathan, Debs, and we'll and also we're gonna have a special guest host from another show will also be joining us. But go ahead, Money Nathan, sir.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. Arla, it's great to have you with us on the show tonight. We've had Terry on the show, so Terry, also great to have you back with us. Arla, your name's come up a lot in the community of folks that we've talked to, and we hear your name referenced quite a bit. And before I would like you to talk about your background with Sasquatch and Bigfoot, kind of your story, I'd like to get into a little bit about the community aspect, because it does seem to me that one sense I get from those we speak with is that you represent this community kind of family vibe. And I'm curious, where does that come from? Is that, the family that you grew up with? Is it something that you've kind of tried to nurture in your adult life? What does family mean to you?
I was taught that they were our neighbors. And growing up, they were there. And my grandmother, always said they're our neighbors. And as our neighbors, sometimes you see your neighbors and sometimes you don't. But you always have respect between each other. And so my whole life has been based on that respect. And, all I can do is share my experiences. I've said time and time again, I'm not here to prove anything. I'm going to share what I've experienced. The only thing I ask is don't throw it out. File it away somewhere, and maybe at some point you will have something happen, or somebody you trust, have something happen. And then you can say, wait a minute, I heard something about that. And so you already have a reference of that possibility. Now, when I came into this, it was like, oh boy, I was named the Immaculate Mother of Woo. So all I knew to do
That's a
was
title.
share. And so I shared it all. If you're studying something, you don't tear a page out and go, well, I don't want to study that. You study all of it.
Yeah.
And you can't throw anything out until you've looked at it. And I ruffled a lot of feathers, when I started talking, because at that time, it was really, really bad. It's not near as bad now. Either they've all accepted, what I say. But the fact is, there's a whole lot more now like me than, before. Plus, people are opening their hearts and they're shifting their paradigm. If you want to know something while you're out there, shift your paradigm. And Terry, I'll tell you, I had said that to him. Open up and shift that paradigm and just see what you can experience.
Wes Germer of Sasquatch Chronicles, which is, quite obviously the biggest Bigfoot show that there is out there. He always says that Dr. John Bindernagel told him, Wes, you need to open your aperture. You need to look at it all. Exactly what Arla just said is what Dr. Bindernagel said to Wes. And he is a lot more open. Hey, Mick. And he is a lot more open than he was. So
Yeah.
I really value that. Debs, jump in there for either Terry, Arla, or both, actually, if you like.
Well, Arla, you mentioned that your first encounter happened when you were 6, and for those who are not as familiar with your background, I was wondering if you could talk about what that might have been like. I imagine that was as the age of 6, a little bit scary. I would love to hear about that.
Well, from the time I could walk, I was running off to the woods. I was a problem child, I have to say, for my mom. But I was at my grandmother's, and I was outside sitting on the ground playing in the dirt, and I was forever playing with sticks and flowers and leaves and all kinds of things, making stuff. And I'm sitting there doing that, and I hear somebody walk up, and I think it's my grandmother. But when I look up, there's this really, really hairy boy looking at me. And we just looked at each other for a while. Gosh, that's an awful hairy kid, and then in my mind, you go, what the heck? Look at all that hair, but he looks like a boy. But, so a little while later, he turned around, walked off. I went in, told my gran what I had seen, and asked her, I said, "What was that, Granny?" And she said, "What do you think it was?" And at that point, she let me think about what I had seen. She didn't try to tell me anything, she just let me sit with it. And then a little later, she began to teach me about them. Now, interesting thing about that at 6, my mom and I were talking. She had a hard time with the Bigfoot. She was afraid of everything. So, she didn't want anything to do with it. You don't talk about it. Of course, we were taught not to talk about it. But we were talking just a few years before she died. And she said, "Arla, do you remember that time when you were 3 and you were sitting on the bed and I was in the closet getting clothes, and I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that. I'm 3 years old, but I still remember this incident because I was sitting on the bed talking to somebody who was standing at the window with the window open. And Mom heard me talking and come out of the closet, and she screamed for my dad, who was taking a bath. And she said, "There's a dirty, hairy man at the window, and Arla's talking to him." And Dad come through, picked up a butcher knife, and took out the back door. And he didn't see anything. And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember all of that." And she looked at me and she said, "Do you think that was a Bigfoot?" And I said, "Well, Mom, what do you think?" She said, "I think it was." And then she said, "Oh, I saw a Bigfoot." I said, "Yes, you did, Mom." So at 3 years old, I was sitting on the bed talking to one through the window. But I didn't recognize it as a Bigfoot, or I don't remember, if I did. But at 6, I knew for certain that when my grandmother had told me what it was, that, what I was seeing was starting at that point.
It's so interesting because we've heard kids that the way that their parents find out is they scream when that happens, when a Bigfoot comes to the window, which they do. It doesn't matter if it's a house or a trailer, they do. They're curious. They'll come and slap the side of the house or the trailer and put their face up, and the child will scream. But obviously, Arla, we've heard 2 cases now at 3 and at 5 where she didn't scream. Terry, what's going on here? I mean, why is Arla not scared?
Brother, I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the questions. Truly, when I first got into this, I had no clue what to expect. I spent a lot of summers on a farm. We had stuff going on, and I had weird experiences. This was way back in the late 60s before we had the internet. I had no clue what was going on. And then I saw The Legend of Boggy Creek, and I knew exactly what was going on. So I have spent the good part of my adult life and some of my younger life trying to figure out, what is this? I know there's something there. I have no doubt there's something there. I don't think these are just animals. Right. This is something more than just an undiscovered ape. These are people. They're not like us, but they're people. And if you treat them like you would want to be treated when a guest comes into your house, because when we go in the woods, we're in their house. So if you are respectful, if you don't go in and trash the place up, if you go into the woods, just sit and read a book. You don't have to go walk around stomping around at night and fall off a cliff or stick your foot in a gopher hole and break your knee. If they're there and they want to interact with you, they will. If they don't, okay, it wasn't that kind of day. But there's more going on. Arla talked about the woo stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she first started, she was the self-proclaimed queen of woo. But now, as we've gotten further along, it's really interesting to see what kind of things that used to be, oh, that's just completely woo and no, that can't happen, to something going on here. We don't know what it is, but there's something going on. More and more people that are out doing this now, even if they don't admit it publicly, they're starting to realize that this is more than meets the eye. This is more than just an animal in the woods. That's why I'm out there now trying to figure out, what is this? What are they? Where did they come from? Who came first? I don't know. Where did they come from? I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to ask one yet. Hopefully one day I'll get a chance, but I think if we go into to a situation without anger, without fear, just leave all of your human, prejudgments behind, I think they know that. Mm-hmm. I think they can tell our intentions. Again, I don't know how. You call it what you want, telepathy, whoever, I don't know. But just like, your dog knows when you've had a bad day.
Sure.
These guys are way smarter than your dog. Yeah. So I think a lot of that stuff we have to leave it behind when we go out into the woods. And it's scary. I will tell you right now, I still sometimes get creeped out in the woods. I'm still working with it. Arla walks in the woods and thinks nothing of it, and it's no big deal.
The woods are scared of Arla.
The woods respect Arla, and Arla respects the woods.
I'm kidding.
So this is, as like Arla said, don't discount things without first at least taking a look. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. We can still go eat pizza and be friends. But if you just throw something out just because that doesn't fit or I don't like it, you're apt to miss something that was a piece of the puzzle that you need. I've had several instances happen like that where I just had to sit back and go, isn't that interesting? Learned something today, didn't you?
You just mentioned my favorite food. That could be a sign. Nathan, I feel like this is a good time. Let's play Steve 1. Okay. And then I'd like to get Arla and Terry's take, and then as well, you and Deb's as well. Could you play Steve 1, please? This is from, by the way, just something to set this up. This is fellow Oklahoma
stuff.
Go ahead, DJ. I'll pause.
I'm sorry, Nathan. I should have. So this is Matt Knapp from Bigfoot Crossroads, our former cabbie and our still friend, and someone who I hope will come back and co-host with us. We love Matt and his show. And interviewing Steve from Appalachia, who's a scientist from University of Florida. Please go ahead, sir.
Mystical stuff. Do you attribute to just things that we just don't really understand yet scientifically?
100%.
I was going to say, do you think there's anything out there? I mean, it's such a hard concept to even grasp, but the idea that there are things that defy all explanations, even beyond our own comprehensions or whatever, there's actually something truly mystical out there? Or is it just stuff that we don't have the right sensory organs, or we don't have the right tools of measurement to understand it at this point?
Both. It's 100% both. And you're going to get that answer to a lot of questions tonight. It's 100% both. We don't understand anything. See, this is the thing. At the core of it, we don't understand anything. Now, we know how some things work, but do we understand it? Understanding and being able... I don't know how a combustion engine works, but I can drive a car.
Yeah.
I could not build a computer. I don't really know how a computer works, but I use them all the time. So it's kind of like that. Our very physical sciences, our Newtonian physics, clearly is just missing a piece of the equation. Mm-hmm. There's something that it just has not factored in yet, which I suspect is consciousness. that's underpinning the whole thing. So is there something out there? Clearly there is. Do we have any inkling what it is, or have we ever? Probably not. Can we even know? I don't know. I mean, we're limited by primate brains. And even though we have a very advanced and highly evolved primate brain, that is a physical construct within a physical seeming setting. And so there are going to be things that we may never be able to grasp as long as we are in that physical construct.
That's it. Arla, your thoughts, the phenomenon writ large.
Well, I've seen too much. I have seen native elders do things that people say, oh, that can't be done. I've literally watched it. And, you know, I'm in the woods every day. We are not the only ones in this universe. And we are not the only sentient being on this earth as well. So we are just scratching the surface scientifically. You know, Ron Moorhead and I talked years ago when he first started doing the quantum physics. And he had asked me, he said, I want you to read, you know, this paper that I'm working on, and I want your opinion of if you think it's in the ballpark of what you know. And so I didn't understand most of what I read, but he explained it to me. And I said, sure, you know, I can't explain it scientifically, but I have seen them do these things. I've seen other humans do things that most people say can't be done.
Be done. Right.
And so if we keep ourselves in this little box of this is what we know at this moment, then no, you won't ever know unless you open that box and put yourself in a place, not jumping in and saying, oh my gosh, that's it. But don't negate it either. Sit with it and think about it and talk to other people. That's the main reason that I do what I do is for other people, to help connect with them. I don't tell people what to think, and, you know, but I'm here. I'll listen. You can trust me. There was a lot of people in the Bigfoot world that wouldn't even mention the word woo when I came into this, but they would privately talk to me and tell me things, you know, that were going on. A lot of people on BFRO would talk to me, but they knew they were safe. It wasn't my place to tell, you know, what they were telling me. And I didn't tell them what to believe. I just let them talk and come, you know, to their conclusions. That's how I was taught. And I believe that that's really how someone learns, is to learn by opening themselves up to the experiences that they're having.
So Terry's wanting to highlight the Quantum Bigfoot by Ron Moorhead. I
Yeah,
got to meet Ron last year in Ocala. Awesome guy. And Julie wanted to point out that Dr. Simeon Hines' Dark Matter Monsters, also great guy, great book, former guest. And I agree with that. I don't even personally, Arla, before I pass to Terry, I don't even use the word woo because I find that labels can conjure emotions that aren't necessary. You know, we're analyzing Bigfoot, you know, this creature that we don't know the exact origin, but appears to be part human and part animal, you know, like us, I guess. And I just say maybe it has some abilities that we don't quite know how to contextualize. But when I use the word woo, then people they're happy because they can automatically put me in a box. So I try not to use that, but
No,
they
woo
love boxes. Yeah,
Woo
exactly.
people don't go in boxes. So,
Yeah, true. Good point.
but
Terry,
you had talked about Dr. Bindernagel
yes.
earlier. Dr. Bindernagel was mentioned. I did a conference with Dr. Bindernagel in British Columbia several years ago, and he even went camping with us, and I got to visit with him, and he was so open-minded to all of this, but it wasn't something he could just go out and say, this is what I think, because he was about having some kind of line of proof that these things are happening. But he's also a hoot. Oh my gosh, he was.
He must be, based on what I've heard. And like
Mhm.
Terry, I want to go out in the woods with Arla. Terry, sir, what did you think of what did you think of what Steve had to say?
Oh, I think he's just spot on. Let's talk about something real quick. Let's
Please.
talk about the word magic. We throw the word magic around all the time. I got a big lighter in my hand here.
Mm-hmm.
Today, no big deal. You strike flame up with that thing, no big deal. Cost $1. Take that back a couple of hundred years, just a couple of hundred years. Walk out into public and flick that thing and fire comes out of it. You're probably going to be in jail, and then you're probably going to be burned at the stake.
Yeah.
Because back then, you were magic, and that was of the devil. Magic is a word that we use to describe something right now that we don't currently have tools in our toolbox to understand. So don't poo-poo something just because it gets the label magic. All this quantum stuff, I love Ron Moorhead's book, Quantum Bigfoot. It's absolutely spot on, in my opinion, about a lot of things that are going on. There's more going on this planet than we see. We live in a three-dimensional world. Yeah. There's more around us than we have any idea that's going on. We don't have the tools yet to understand it or to see it. We can see the periphery. We can see the results of some of the things that happen, but we don't have a clue as to what's really behind it because we can't see through that curtain yet. I think we will at some point if we keep growing and going forward and don't blow ourselves up in the process. Mm-hmm. I think we can learn. There's a lot of things that I have learned that initially when I first started this years ago, I'd have looked at people and gone, aren't you sweet? No, bless your heart. Okay. Portals.
Bless your heart.
Portals. Oh my gosh. When I first started this, portals. Yeah, bless your heart. Aren't you sweet? Until I saw one open.
Yeah.
Right.
And that changes everything. Yeah. We've actually, a group I was with actually has that on thermal.
The Meadow Project.
Another great one. I've got, it's a book there, and I get no money from this book. It's just a good book. I know those guys. I am the theory in that book. But we were in the meadow. I was sitting there with a bunch of people. We were in 3 or 4 teams. And a buddy of mine and I had gone down into that meadow, as we did all the time in the daylight, walked around, looked at things. Okay, that's a rock. That's going to look like a Bigfoot at night. That's a big bush. That's going to look like a Bigfoot at night. There's a tree over there. It's going to look like, okay, so we know where everything is. We get down there in the middle of the night, get all settled, and I'm kind of abridging this, but all of a sudden I hear my buddy next to me say, what is that square thing out there? And it didn't dawn on me what he was saying at first. And I hear him again. He said, what is that square thing I'm looking at? And at that point, it hit me. There is no square thing. We were down here this afternoon. What are you talking about? So I just leaned over and said, what you got? He said, here, take a look. Sure as the world. There was a square opening up right there on his thermal. You could not see it with your naked eye. I don't know what it was. I don't know where it came from. But it's there. Until you actually see it, it's a different thing. So now I'm thinking, okay, now I got to, number one, apologize to all the people that I snickered at. And number two, what is this? And truly, I think portals right now, this is my opinion, it's kind of like an ant waking up and finding that someone has built a road next to their anthill. And from the ant's perspective, he has no idea what it is. He has no idea who built it. He has no idea what it's used for. I think that's kind of the way we are about those and a lot of things. So, don't throw something out just because initially it goes against what you've been taught. Sometimes you have to unlearn things a little bit.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. And by the way, there is I heard one of Terry's colleagues interviewed who told the exact same story. He was an EMT, and Terry was out there with a group of professional colleagues, a group of professionals that were doing this work, and they were professionally set up to capture Bigfoot and got a lot more than what they bargained for in terms of the portal. First of all, before you go, I'd like to welcome to the stage the host of All Things Unexplained, my friend. He's Terry's brother to the north because he's in North Carolina, but he's from Mississippi. Put your hands together for Dr. Tim Mounts.
Hey, thanks so much. Thank you. I really apologize for being late, and it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Arla. Hi, Deb. Hi, Terry. Hi, DJ. Let me tell you, I apologize for being late, but I just returned from Roswell, New Mexico, and the hitchhiker effect is real, y'all, because it hitchhiked its way on back to North Carolina.
Love Dr. Tim Mounts. Oh my God. Love this guy. Nathan, I just want to ask you, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to send Tim that MP3 so that he can hear it, that clip of, but he may have actually listened to the episode, Steve, with Matt of Bigfoot Crossroads. Did you have some comments, Nathan, about what Steve said? Was that intriguing at all? Get you up,
Oh yeah,
brother.
totally. I mean, this whole conversation has been, right down our alley here. I mean, in terms of paradigm changing and opening the aperture. And you hear that a lot. And it's great to hear it from other disciplines, right? So we hear that quite a bit in the UFO community, but hearing it in the Bigfoot community as well, I think it just signals that we're going through a kind of shift in our society, recognizing that the way we were doing things, the way we thought we know, the things we think we know to be true, those things are changing. And we're willing to bring more information, maybe even more uncertainty into our picture of the world. And that is kind of, it's unsettling, right? We don't like to not have all the answers, and our kind of enlightenment science has all been built on, let's just study this a little bit more. Let's get a better microscope so we can understand what this is. And once we understand it, then we'll fully have mastery over it and we can do something with it. That's kind of been the aim of our science, is to master it and then do something with it and control it. And that's where we get our technology. But I think we're kind of coming to a place where we're recognizing that's not all there is to reality. Reality is more complex and strange and weird than just that. And so the more people that think that, the more people that get exposed to that, I think, Arla, your experience speaks to this very well. The more people that come to that place, then things also begin to shift with them. And it becomes a kind of almost contagious thing that happens. And this is how paradigms do change, that they change kind of gradually. And so I just believe that we're going through a time right now where it is happening. And, if we were to have a historical perspective, we could go into the future 100 years and look back at this time. We would see that the seeds of the change are evident, but they're not necessarily evident to all of the people who are here right now. I'm not saying the people in this room, but people in society in the world right now.
It's funny, and Nathan, the Bigfoot behind you, I don't know if that's the one that came and poked the tent. Like Arla, I'm sure, told that Bigfoot, go to Terry's tent and mess with him tonight. That was what you didn't hear, Terry, when you were picking up trash. That's what happened. You're not going to cop to that, Arla? No, okay.
No, they do what they choose to do. Okay. So
I just had to explore this as a possibility. It's just I'm doing Rick Taylor's investigative techniques here. So
I have no control over this. I'm just here. My heart's open, so I listen, and yes, I was in the paranormal Bigfoot too with Flash of Beauty. And actually,
one, okay.
when Rick would talk, then they had me. And then towards almost the end of it, they put what I've said from day one: don't throw it out, file it away.
I'm with you. Debs, can I get your
Oh,
take,
yeah.
please, on Steve?
I'm so excited to talk about this. So he was
Please.
talking about our limitations and understanding.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest limitation we have is being human, not
Mhm.
being part of the planet and an animal, but being human and thinking that we're separate from the other things on the planet. Because if you break it all down, which I have, there's some really weird things that people would call woo or magical happening naturally. And we are the only ones who are like, oh, that can't happen, but it's happening all around the planet. And an example is the way, like, for instance, fungi and plant life communicate with each other with chemical messaging and electrical signals. And that happens from the microbiological level all the way up. We're the only animal probably that doesn't realize that we're doing it. So like I
Yeah.
actually begin to think that that might explain telepathy, for instance, that we're probably doing it too. It happens with all these other species, right? So I guess my point is the only limitation really is that we're human, not anything else, but the fact that we think that we're separate.
Deb, can I just ask you one further question?
Yes.
The point that Steve was making, where he asked, he questioned whether or not we have the capacity to understand. Do we?
If we get more primal and accept that we're part of this planet and not something other and special and above everything, we could probably connect back to the other species on the planet. And if you look at some of our relatives, our cousins, they're probably doing it. They're probably using infrasound and things like that. And, if we could just step out of our egos, we could probably do it all too and start to understand.
Tim, I just want to get some of your thoughts on you've heard what everyone had to say. They're commenting on what Steve said to Matt, and I don't know if you heard that pod or not, but just based on the tenor of what you've heard.
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm qualified to jump in on it at this point, but
Okay, we'll put you back. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, I will send you that clip, but basically he's talking about that we don't understand anything about the phenomenon, and he questions, if I were to encapsulate it, Nathan, he said we don't understand anything, and he's not positive that we actually can understand it all. Is that right? If I were to break it down into one sentence, Nathan?
Yeah,
are you there?
I think that's it, right? And we've talked about this many times that we're limited by our senses, right? We're very limited by what we can actually receive about the world. And all we know about the world is coming to us just through our senses. There's no way we can experience reality outside of our sense perception of it. And so he's acknowledging that truth and acknowledging that there's a lot happening. Terry spoke about this too. There's a lot happening outside of that very narrow band of our ability to perceive. And, I like Terry talking about the computer because, Bernardo Castro likes to use that analogy too. And he talks about, icons on the screen, or sorry, Donald Hoffman uses this analogy.
Right.
Icons
yeah.
on the screen,
You're not looking at an
waste
actual
bin
trash
on your
can.
desktop, and it's not an actual trash can, but we put things in there. It's representative of, taking out the trash. And that's really what reality is. The trash can you see in your kitchen or whatever, it's real. It's not that it's not real, but it's representative of a deeper reality that we can't actually tap into beyond that, because we have a limited perception of it.
But he did identify consciousness as maybe the key to it. He did
Well,
identify that.
I actually do
Yes,
have
sir.
some thoughts on that, DJ.
Please let me
Hey.
clear the stage.
So I'll diverge from Nathan just a little bit because, I'm a big Albert Einstein fan, and Albert Einstein was looking for a theory of everything, but he got thrown off by a little thing called quantum mechanics, and he even called something called quantum entanglement, spooky action at a distance. And this kind of really threw Einstein for a loop. And here, many years later, I had a chance to talk to Eric Bard, chief scientist at Skinwalker Ranch. And I really love something Eric said. And Eric said that he is looking for nothing less than a unifying theory that can explain everything that they're seeing, from the paranormal to the macro to the micro to the physics to the quantum physics to the mathematics, all of it. And I think that, quantum physics, mathematics, it gives us insight into things that we cannot perceive or may not be aware that we're perceiving. They may be perhaps having an effect on us. There could be something on the far side of the universe through, quantum entanglement that is having some sort of effect on us. And the key to it, I think, one of the keys could be, physics and mathematics and science. And so I do think that there is hope out there to unify all these things in a way that ties them all together.
Yeah, it's sort of like having that right mixture of flour, salt, and everything to make that great apple pie. Anybody here bake? Arla, Terry, anybody? No?
Yeah.
And my
All right.
wife does.
Arla's saying yes. And
I do.
Tim's raising his hand. All right, me too, because I bake. So what I want to do now, Nathan, let's play that second clip. And then after that, I want to get to like how Arla and Terry met and if it was during that first camp encounter. But let's play that second clip, if you will, please.
Do you want to introduce it at all? Or you just want to
So
launch it
it's
up?
Matt Knapp of Bigfoot Crossroads. This is his guest, Steve, who is a scientist grew up, as he describes it, in the foothills of Appalachia. He wants to maintain his anonymity. He was a scientist at University of Florida, which means he's almost as smart as Dr. Mounts as far as we're concerned.
But isn't it interesting that you have all these different communities of people, all these, I mean, just civilization, just different societies all over the world, different belief systems, everything, religions, all the different things, where there's so many things that are talked about and just different names applied to them, but they're all talking about the same things.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you not see that as acknowledgement that these things do exist and are very real?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, humans are fear-based, and I find the more committed a given person is to their belief system, the more willing they are to shut out parts of observable reality. So on the religious end, people are going to, immediately go to demon, no matter what it is. And then on the science end, they're going to go to, that can't be real because it doesn't fit our Newtonian physics. Both of those are fear responses, in my opinion. Because they are desperately clinging to their certainty in a given story, and they don't want anything that's going to interfere with that story. They're looking for confirmation biases. They're not looking for mysteries outside of their bailiwick.
Right.
But yeah, these things are everywhere. They're constant. They've always been going on. They're always described. You can go to any culture on Earth and you're going to find these stories. And that's like with my ancestors.
So that was it right there. I cut it right there, but I thought that was a really good. So Arla, what did you think of that? And then we'll just kind of have some free talk about that. What did you think of what he said there?
I didn't hear anything he said. I heard nothing.
Is it because of the Jack Russell Terrier in the background?
No, that is Malibu, the dachshund Chihuahua. Her daddy came home. So
all right. Did anybody hear that, Nathan or Terry?
Yeah, I got it.
Jump in.
Arla, tell Malibu hello for me.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, the part truly I'd like to address is the fear-based concept that he said. That is absolutely true. why is it that anytime we start talking about aliens or anything else that we don't understand, well, they're always here to conquer us, to subjugate us, to carry us off, to do whatever? Why is that? Is that reality? Or could it be perhaps that that's what we've done to each other throughout our existence here?
Yep.
That's all we know. So yeah, we're absolutely fear-based. We're reactionary, and you got to work hard to get past that. I've done my best. Now, again, I'm not nearly as afraid of going out in the woods and running into a Bigfoot as I used to be, because I've kind of learned, if you talk to them and tell them, it sounds crazy, but I've seen it work. I've done it. Hey, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I'm just here to kind of hang out and learn about you. If you want to be around, that's fine. If not, that's okay. I just call it talking to the woods now. And I used to laugh at that. It works. If nothing else, it makes you feel more comfortable in your own skin. But you're projecting your intentions and you're getting past your fear. So, I don't think Bigfoot are there to kill us. I don't think they're bloodthirsty. I don't, like you hear people talk about that. Oh, I got run out of the woods by Bigfoot. He just was screaming and throwing rocks and logs. And
never happened to you?
Not happened to me.
Interesting.
The reason my question to those people is, with respect, what were you doing? What were you doing that might have caused him to do that? Because remember, you're in his house. Did you get too close to their kids? Which I think the encounter I told you guys about last time I was on, when I was on the trail, and got the tinglies. It wasn't zapped. It was kind of just electricity. We got too close. And I just said out loud, okay, guys, I think we're too close. We're going to back up. 5 steps back, gone.
Wow.
So, what were we doing? Were we between them and a food source? Did Mrs. Bigfoot say, Bob Bigfoot, go out and go down to the creek and grab us some steelhead trout? Kids are hungry. Bring it home for supper tonight. So he's out, the sun's going down. He's wandering out toward this creek. Well, in the meantime, you've gone in and set up on his bank there, on his sandbar, and you're pulling in trout left and right.
Right.
And then you get in your tent. Well, he comes along. He can't get to the refrigerator or the grocery store. So he's upset because, you guys are married out there. If the wife sends you out for groceries and you come back empty handed, you're in trouble. So is he trying to just get to his food source? There's a lot of things that you have to stop and think about. It's not all about us. It's truly, it's not, they're out to get us.
Right.
It's, well, what were we doing that might have caused this? And when you start looking at things that way, you start to change your fear level goes down, at least mine has, a good bit, because you realize, oh, well, this is just their way of saying, hey, we're busy right now. We don't want you around or whatever. Fine. That's fine. I don't want people in my house every hour and every minute. I want some time to hang out with my wife. Maybe that goes for them. There's a lot of stuff that we truly don't understand. But if you again, open your eyes, stop thinking with your brain, and I guess, for lack of a better term, as Arla says, think with your heart. You get more places, and you get closer to the answers.
Yep. The answers are there. The answers are there. All you have to do is be open. I will address fear. Fear is a learned thing. We're not born with fear. We are taught fear. I was never taught to fear anything. As a little girl, I interacted with many beings, from star people to little people, anything that was in the forest, or anywhere. I was taught to be respectful and talk to them. And I wanted to know who they were and what they were doing. I was that kid that when you heard something under your bed, I didn't cover my head up. I leaned over my bed and looked under to see, what's making that noise down there. So I've never had a fear. I have respect, and I have no problem talking to anything. Star people, like I said, have been a part of my life since I was young, and so many other things. And we are all related. Everything on this earth and beyond is related in some fashion or another. And for sure, for humans, I mean, you're made up of all of the things that are here on this earth. And so if you can get past the fear, and something else, what you feed your mind is the experience that you're going to have. And that's what I tell people all the time who talk about, oh my gosh, they were trying to get in my house, they were rattling the door. If they wanted in your house, that
Rip the door off.
would not stop them.
Right.
Like for Terry, he was in his tent, and he was okay. And that's the way it is. We're in the woods in a tent, which I spend a good part of the year in the woods in a tent. And that tent's not going to stop anything, but it's a mind thing. Okay. I really can't see anything. I can hear something, but as long as I can't see it, then, it's okay. So if you can get past your fear and realize that they have always been there. When you've been in the woods, they are there, whether you see them or not. There's a lot of things that are there. You just, they found out now that the heart has what our brain cells. And that when you connect that with your brain and you open your mind and shift your paradigm, you are more easily able to see things that maybe before you didn't see.
You are making not only this entire panel just feel really, really good right now, but the entire audience as well. So I want to thank you for that advice. And I did, I've only been out Bigfooting a few times, but one time I did. I left the group, and I took my shoes off, grounded myself barefoot, and then I just tried to project what I wanted. Just a positive conversation with any Bigfoots that may or may not have been present. I don't know if there were or not, but we had heard that they were in this area. It was the Blackwater Nature Reserve in kind of like not too far from Pensacola, Florida. But anyway, I did try to do exactly what I heard Terry talk about through you. What I was going to ask you, Arla, if I may, and we'll circle back to the other things in a bit, Nathan, but I wanted to ask you, when was sort of your last interaction, and do you are receiving some sort of a vibration when you're in their, close in their presence?
Today.
I figured that was coming.
So long time.
I figured that was coming.
There is stuff that goes on in our world every day, and we're either open to it or we're not. There's a family here. So if I'm out in the woods, I don't go out there to see them. I go out there because I love the woods, and I talk to everything. Flowers, birds, trees, everything. And so I'm there. They do things with me. They forever play pranks on me all the time. And they are masters at doing that, playing pranks. I sit and tell stories after story after story of stuff they've done to me and other people. I'm not the only one that has seen them here or pretty much anywhere I've been, which has been from coast to coast and into British Columbia. And we used to have a camp out in Georgia, and there were
Yes.
things that happened there. It's amazing, this wonderful world that we're a part of, that so many have separated themselves from all of this when you don't have to. You really don't.
I'm going to pass it to Nathan because I'm already plotting and planning for Arla Williams and Terry Windell part 2, because there's no way we're going to get it. There's just too much, but Money Nathan, please go ahead, sir. And then we'll go to Tim and then Debs.
Awesome. This conversation has been just really, really wonderful. I think because people on a deep level really connect with what you're saying. I think everybody has this capacity within themselves, but we've been born into a world that has forgotten that for a very long time. And we have this amnesia, this sort of collective amnesia that humanity hasn't always lived like this. And so I'm curious, where do you see the journey going from here for all of us in humanity, particularly in this day and age where, we do have a lot of technology and that seems to be increasing. There are a lot of folks who, are really tethered to that. And at the same time, we see an emergence of sort of feelings and sensing of things that you're speaking to. So do you think we're going to see a blend of these sort of perspectives going forward? Where do you see us going from here? And Terry, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Well, that's a good question. And I think if we're going to survive as human beings, we need to learn to evolve. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean we lose our hair and turn gray and look like the star people or whatever? I don't know.
Me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we need to change the way we think about things. One of the things my wife and I talk about a lot, matter of fact, I don't want to get religious sounding, but, we actually ask when we say our prayers, we actually pray, please help human beings to learn that we have to stop fighting before it's too late. We're killing each other over nothing and nothing that matters anywhere else. So we need to learn to get beyond what we've been taught. And, the thing about the heart, it's very poignant that you mentioned that. It's back centuries ago, the medical community, what was called the medical community back then, centuries ago, thought the heart was the center of your soul, not your brain, your heart. And only in modern times have we changed that thinking that, the brain's where consciousness lives. Well, I'm beginning to wonder, could it be both? Right. It's not an either or thing. There are scientists who have come out with theories, the medical community. There's not enough stuff in our brains to do all the things that our brains do for us. We're connected to something we don't understand. Where do we go when we sleep at night? I've always wondered that. When you die, all the near-death experiences you have that you've heard about, what's that? Is that just your brain, its last gasp? Or is there really something going on there? Mm-hmm. We need to start recognizing that we don't have all the answers. And again, we don't even know all the questions. And I think once we be a little more honest with ourselves, that'll start the learning process for real. But we can't keep going like this. This is a dead end future. And no pun intended. So we got to figure out a way to get beyond fear, a way to get beyond hate, a way to get beyond all this other stuff, and just realize, guys, we got to change. we got to change.
Political partisanship.
Mm.
Yeah,
Love
I agree with you, Terry. And Arla, I'm one of those who goes into the woods and speaks to the woods and the animals and says hello to everything. And everything you said there resonates with my experience in the woods every time I go, which is basically every weekend. But let me go to please Tim and then Deb so that they can get their angle on what they'd like to ask and to whom.
Oh yeah, well I was wondering, Terry, what's the squatchiest place or places you've ever experienced?
Gosh.
Sorry.
I do a lot in the Uwharrie National Forest.
Oh yes,
Past.
that's just down the road from me.
Strange things happen in the Uwharrie. That was my very first official Bigfoot outing when I had no clue what was going on, and I got hooked up with a couple of people who said, "Yeah, he doesn't look like he's an axe murderer. Let's bring him out, and we'll go out in the woods." My very first outing in Uwharrie, I had a rock thrown at me, or not. I'm sorry, not at me. We had a rock thrown into camp, and this is that rock.
Oh,
I carry that with me to this day. We recovered it. The guys that I was with had thermal gear, and we actually have a video. It's on their site. I can't show it because I don't have permission, and I didn't ask tonight, so I can't show it. But they actually caught the rock being thrown as it arced across in front of the camera, and because it had been held, and this was like 2 in the morning, 1:30, 2 in the morning. Because it had been held by something, it was hot. It was like it had been held in a fist or something.
Wow.
You could see it. It stuck out like a sore thumb on the thermal stuff. And they were able to walk in. One guy walked in the other guy and picked up this rock, and they gave it to me in honor of my first ever going out. It's rare now that I go out in the woods that I don't have a rock or something thrown my way. When we were back up, the story that I told you guys last time about the eyes and stuff on the trail in the middle of the night, this past time we went back to that same festival this year. It was pouring down rain, so we really didn't get out in the woods, and we had rocks just pelting. We were up in a cabin that's just way up in the woods. I mean, it's in the South Carolina woods up in the mountains. The festival people had put us up there, and it's an area that they didn't tell us initially, but it was famous for sightings and encounters. And, we knew that there was something there from the last trip. Michael Cook and I had both experienced it out in the woods together. And this past time we went out, we didn't go because it was pouring down rain. We just sat on the big front porch on the cabin. And we had rocks thrown on the roof. We had rocks thrown on the shed building next to us. I mean, there was one I was saying earlier. It was like a John Bonham drum solo, just boom. And I would just laugh and like, "Oh, guys, this is so great. We're glad you're here. We'll stay over here. We won't come over there and bother you." They were on the other side. We couldn't see them. This was adjacent to the forest. And so they were just, we were getting rocks, just bing, 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 bing. And then it would stop. And, "Okay, that was great, guys. Can you do it again?" Bing, 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 bing. Now, in fairness, the wind was blowing. The next morning, I got up, walked around over there, and there were a couple of trees that were over this building, the shed. There were none over the roof where we were. But in fairness, I went out and looked and, expected to find a bunch of limbs down and stuff. Nothing. I grabbed a hand of acorns that were up there thinking, okay, let me chuck some of these up on the roof and see if it makes the same sound. Nowhere close.
It's a lot louder.
So you tell me, it's stuff like that. So, but I would say Uwharrie is probably, there's stuff in Uwharrie that I've seen lights. I've seen, I don't know what. That would be one. The other one is the book that I flashed up about the meadow. I can't tell you where that is.
Come on, Terry. When is this NDA? Is it 25 years?
The
Never
ninja
mind. Go ahead.
guys will come after me.
Yeah.
You don't know who some of these people are. I do.
No,
I
kidding.
gave my word, so I can't do
would
that. I had
never-
signed
I
an
would never.
NDA with them, so I got to honor my word. But that place you talked about, Skinwalker. This place is Skinwalker of the Southeast, brother. The only thing that has not shown up there to date is the Loch Ness Monster, and there is a swampy area.
It's on the way.
Oh yeah, there's a lake. There's a
Area
big
there.
lake. Baden Lake, I think it is. Yeah.
So it's just, I can't tell you. This was not in the Uwharrie. I can't tell you where this is.
It was
Those
Alabama,
two places were probably the squatchiest areas that I've been involved with. And again, the fright part is going away once you realize what's going on. I still do get a little creeped out in the dark because you can't see.
Yeah.
We are sensory beings. We are used to seeing things.
Terry, that's what we have Arla for. I'm not going to go
There you
spend
go.
all this money on NVGs when I can just hold Arla's hand, have her lead me into the forest.
Listen,
I mean, there's no
when I
need.
got- When I got poked in the shoulder when I was with Arla down in Georgia, she took off walking. She has this Arla phrase that I've learned to mean I think we're going to have company, but she'll just say, I think I'm going to take a walk. And I know what that means. We got company. So
I heard you.
When she said that, I said, well, can I come with you? And she said, sure. Now, I don't know if it was just she knew where she was going. Dumb luck. I don't know. But she took off walking like she had built-in thermal FLIR, anything you could think of. I'm walking behind her trying to keep up and not step on a root ball or step in a chuck hole and nothing. And man, she's just making a beeline right through the woods.
No flashlight.
No flashlights, no
Arla,
headlamp, no nothing.
Would you confirm or deny that you have the glowing eyes exactly like Sasquatch has?
Well, I don't know.
I've never seen the blood.
Nobody's ever photographed that or not, but I don't know. Logically, if you're in the dark for a certain period of time, you can start seeing the out, shadows or other things. Like I've been in the woods ever since I was little. I'd walk in the woods at night, and like Terry said, sometimes I just get up from the fire or whatever and, go for a walk. And yeah, a lot of times they're there. Sometimes, they're not, or I just don't perceive that they're there, or they just don't let me know, that they're there. And in the beginning, there was a lot of researchers that wanted to take me to the woods. And I just told them, hey, I'm not Bigfoot bait. So, I can assure you that anything will happen. I'm not in charge. They are. And everything that has happened when someone was with me was not something I asked for. In the case with Stewart, that was totally directed by them. I just, did what I was asked to do. So, yeah.
So
it's cool to walk in the woods at night.
It is,
man.
It is. I'm learning that.
Leave
the million candle watt flashlights and searchlights at home.
Okay, Terry, I have a red headlamp. Is that okay? Can I have my
sure?
red
I mean, yeah,
headlamp?
that's fine. But don't.
What
go
if
out
Arla's not there? What am I going to do?
don't go out with the billion candle power.
Right.
Number one, you kill your night vision doing that.
Kill your night vision.
It takes 30 or 40 minutes to get that back. And number two, you run off any of the animal life there, the standard animal life, let alone Bigfoot. Just leave that stuff at home.
Yep. I have 13 years of my Air Force career using night vision goggles, like 2,000 hours worth. So I'm very familiar with being able to amplify your night vision, just like Arla said, or destroying your night vision and having light discipline in the whole 9 yards. So I have great appreciation for what you both have said. Debs, let's go to you, and then we'll probably have a last round. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is going to be a question for Arla. You mentioned that you were not afraid when you looked under the bed. Well, I had a personal, very strange experience. Then I couldn't tell you why, but when I was very little, I told people that there was something under my bed and that it was gnomes or something like gnomes, and I would jump into my bed. And that is not something that you like. I don't understand why children think something's in their room or under their bed, because that's not something parents tell their kids generally. It has been used culturally, of course, like to scare kids away from going to the water so they don't drown and things like that. But generally, like, I never told my kids there was anything under the bed or anything. So what is going on with that? Like, why are children having these experiences where they think something's in their room or under their bed?
Children are so perceptive. And I always tell people, and I talk a lot about, if we come to this with the mind of a child, if you're out in the woods and you bring that child mind back, it's a mind of wonder of everything. If you've not been taught fear, which I wasn't taught fear. So, kids just totally open up. I've got grandkids that, they're like me in that they are so open to seeing things. I've got a one granddaughter who was open from the time she was little and would say things, and you would look at her, where'd you get that at, and how do you know that? So it's all about, being open, and children are. At some point, that begins to change if we have parents who tell us, you can't think that. That's not real. You're just imagining that. And if you can leave all of that stuff out of it and just listen to the child and what they're telling you, then so much of what they see is valid and true. Like I said, I was taught not to be afraid of anything, and I talk to everything. Everything's a part of me, and I'm a part of everything, and all of us are. And so, how you're brought up is a big deal. And then what you feed your mind is a big deal too.
Yeah.
With fear.
I wanted to follow up for those who are curious about this. I was told, of course, that there was nothing there, but I continued to jump to get into my bed for like 2 years. So
Yep.
I don't know what was going on. I don't remember, but I do know that I was very young and I was scared.
Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that too. If you don't have a reference for what's going on, and that's what happens, with people and being afraid of the Bigfoot, is they don't have a reference from my point of view. They have a reference from what they've been told. So somewhere along the line, you were probably either read a story or told something, or didn't have someone to talk to. I had my grandmother I could say anything to. And that's where we have to be, and be supportive of what people are saying, even adults. I'm not going to tell anybody, you didn't see that, because I can't do that. And I wouldn't do it either. But I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Because
Arla, the only thing under my bed was lint. I mean, I was going to tell you that story, but I didn't think that it was going to resonate. But there certainly was a lot of lint and cat hair. So,
well, There wasn't cat hair under mine, but I'm sure there was lint and a lot of other stuff that I had stuck under. I'm sure there were rocks and flowers and sticks and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh my God!
So, but yeah,
you're just so amazing. We're definitely gonna have. We are requesting right now on air to have a Arla and Terry too. Don't feel any pressure to accept. And then
I'm good. I tell you what, can I share something with you real fast as a little teaser for round 2?
Yeah, we got about 9 minutes left. So go ahead.
I'm going to just flash an image up on my screen. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Holy moly.
That is one of Arla's companions that lives on her farm. Now, this was Arla. You please feel free to jump in and tell the story. But this was an older print. It had been raining a little bit by the time I got there. But tell them where that was in relation to where I stayed when I came to visit you.
Oh, not very far.
It's about what, 30 yards into the woods?
Yeah, maybe that far. This is Al Coller's footprint.
Wow.
He is the father of the family that's here. This is the one that did the owl call in Stuart Taylor's audio where he's watching the family. But and through the years, Al Collar has grown some too. But I mean, it's a footprint. It's like my footprint are everywhere, and there's our two. I found a footprint today. I know whose it was because I'm in these woods, like I said, every day. And I've watched some of the hairy kids' footprints change. I've got one I call Blue, and I call him Blue Big Toe because in his prints, his toes a little bigger than the others. So they're my neighbors. They live in the woods here, and I interact with them sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
Okay, apparently Hera is demanding that she does the rest of the show with me, and I'm not in a position to get clawed in the back, which is what she will do if I try to get her off. Anyway, Hera, welcome to the show. Your second straight episode on CAB. So let's go to Money Nathan. So let's make this sort of a lightning round. I have another final question as well, but let's go to Money Nathan, please.
All right, quick question. What do you think the age limit is here, Arla, on these beings? What's the how long do they live?
Well, Al Collar, from what I understand, is like in his 50s, late 50s. And there's a mom, Moma. I call her Moma because when she sings to the babies, she would say, Moma, Moma. And then there is Meridia, who is the oldest daughter. Now, I have names for them. It may or may not be their name. And then there's Indigo, who has been a part of my physical life for many, many years. The younger brother, Blue. And then there's one I call Baby Girl. She's the youngest. She's now right at 13. So that span within there, the oldest of the children is in her 20s, and the others it's kind of like an average of 5 years or 4 or 5 years in between the kids. I've seen all of them. Stuart saw them. Many other people have seen them and interacted with them. Like I said, they choose what it is they do. And I have no control.
Right. That's amazing. Terry, what do you think is the upper age limit? Terry, are there stories about that?
I have no clue. Truly, Arla would know better about that than I would. I have heard some people say Human lifespans. I've heard other people say 100, 150 years. I truly have no clue. I know that Arla has been interacting with this particular clan for a good while. So, that's really truly the only reference that I have for anything like that. And truly, I'm open to anything at this point. I don't know. That's one of the reasons that I got into this is I got questions and I want to know what's going on. I want to learn.
Love it. Tim, let's get you a lightning question here.
Yeah, Arla and Terry, how do you weed out potential hoaxes, and why do you think people do hoax?
Attention. Attention. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, you're looking for something that's about you, not about what you're talking about. For whatever reason, it's an ego-driven thing. Somebody else saw something, so now for me to validate myself, I have to see something. I think others are just spite or meanness or, hey, I want to get one over on you guys. I don't know. It baffles me why you would do something like that. A lot of times I take cameras out with me when I go. When I first started, I thought, oh gosh, yeah, I'm going to go out and get video of Bigfoot because I do video stuff, and that's what I do. And yeah, right. Go out and try and take a picture of a squirrel in your yard. It runs up a tree. They'll go to the other side. So I don't post a lot of stuff. I don't try to post a lot of stuff. I don't need to post a lot of stuff. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody out there. I'm trying to prove something to me. I want to know what's going on. So when I film stuff out in the woods, it's basically like a vlog or a video diary, so that when I come back, I've got a record of things exactly as it happened. So I don't change the story. Stuff doesn't creep in. Human beings are terrible data recorders. We just don't do well with that.
Well, have you ever gotten a sense somebody is messing with you or trying to hoax you, or do you keep your outings pretty private for that reason?
I don't talk about a lot about where I'm going. I will tell you, the general vicinity. And yes, there are some people in the Uwharrie that I believe have hoaxed some things. That's between them and whoever. I'm not going to call anybody out, because who am I?
Yeah, I mean, because Zagnut's pretty great. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I've camped there. Sure, that was straight up. He didn't even know what he got. The camera that he was using was probably, it was the size of a desk almost. There's nothing like we have now. So, I don't know. There's times when I look at the Patterson Gimlin film and go, that's real. And there's other times I look at it.
It's real.
I don't know. Who am I to judge? All I can tell you about is what I've seen, what I've run into, and my experiences. So the whole hoaxing thing, I don't slow down too much for it.
No. Rick Dyer was the quintessential hoaxer. And there were people jumping on the bandwagon all the time with, no, he's not. I had a personal little interaction with Rick Dyer several years ago. But it's the nature of the human to do this kind of thing. And it's about a lot about ego, because you have something happening. And you get all of these people coming and going, oh, wow, that's so cool. All of this. But then nothing else happens. So what do? Well, you got to make something happen so that you can get that. I've seen people in this lose their livelihood, lose their family, literally lose themselves because they were so intent on proving and being somebody, when the truth is we're already somebody. We don't need to have to prove, that to anything. One thing I've said from the beginning, you think you're going out to learn about the Bigfoot. And if you open your heart and your mind and shift your paradigm, yes, you will learn some things about them. But you're going to learn more about who you are
Amen.
than you're ever going to learn about them.
Amen.
And that's the important thing. We learn about who we are.
Cab loves you, Arla, for these words of wisdom that come from the heart, are not contrived, and are valuable life lessons outside of any pursuit of Bigfoot. That aside. So Tim's quick hitter actually had 3 follow-ups. So Debs, well, wait a minute. Before we even do that, Mississippi's own Tim Mounts. Before we do that, the voices that you are hearing is the legendary Arla Williams from Oklahoma, her research colleague and dear friend Terry Windell from Rock Hill Bigfoot, who I still hope to go to the into the woods with. And guess what? I live a lot closer now because I'm in Georgia.
Yes, you do.
Of course, that is the host of All Things Unexplained, Dr. Tim Mounts, the former, well, I said former basketball coach, current basketball coach and former player. And the lovely Debs and my man Money Nathan, give us a like and a subscribe. Help us out. And boy, we've got a big announcement coming up for you about calling all beings in short order. We'll let you know what that is. So Debs, please, with your last one, I'll get a last one, and then we'll get these guys out of here so that Arla can get some chamomile tea.
I keep going back to something Terry said earlier about us realizing that we need to stop hurting each other as humans. And it kind of relates to what Arla was just saying. When you study the paranormal, or, what I consider just normal, right, nature, you learn a lot about humanity. And I don't know, like, there's a sense of a lot of people are doing this wrong. Something's very wrong with it. Like, I'm okay with AI and technology. That's not the problem. But how we treat each other, like, for me, it just seems outdated for people to continue to hurt each other. It just feels wrong. So why do you think that is, that we have this sense of need for peace that is just ever increasing? It's not part of actual human nature or the planet's nature, but it's something that we keep bringing forward.
Well, peace is something everybody wants, but not everybody is willing to release things that are going to bring you peace. Every day I ask that I am peace, love, compassion, and joy. And I always tell people, be kind to each other. Just be kind to each other. Think how wonderful it would be, how we would raise the vibrations of this world if we were just kind to each other. And, my grandmother always told us kids, don't act ugly. And what she meant by that was don't do things that are disrespectful, because it doesn't make you look very good. And I never, ever want to act ugly to anyone, no matter what they say to me. I'm not going to go there, because I see our world opening up to being kind to each other. Oh my gosh, Facebook is so much different now than it was when I came into this several years ago. I see so much more positive, and from people that, you go, wait a minute. It was just not very long ago that they were ready to go over to some other country and kick somebody's butt, and now we need to figure out how not to do this. We need to see each other as a relative.
Yeah, I agree completely. My wife is a yoga instructor, and the way she closes all of her yoga classes is, may you be happy, may you be healthy, May you know great peace, and may you know great love. And that has really stuck with me. She says that every time after they are done. And really and truly, we can't keep going like this. We can, but we're going to end up at the end. And I don't want it to be the end. So we got to figure out some way to stop fighting over stuff that does not matter. We think, we Europeans talk about owning the land. We don't own the land. Nobody owns the land. The land owns us. We're just taking care of it. We're borrowing it from our grandchildren, I think is one of the Native American proverbs. So we got to figure out, number one, what ticks us off. Number two, why it ticks us off. And number three, how can we stop getting ticked off? Just let it go. Let stuff go. That's one thing that I have made it a point to work on every day. Even if I'm by myself and somebody pulls out in front of me in traffic, and this is trivial stuff, but somebody pulls out in front of me in traffic, and I go, oh my God. And then you stop and think, in 100 years, what's that going to matter? Let it go.
In 5 minutes, what's it going to matter?
Yeah, in 5 minutes, let it go. You'll live a much happier life, and that will be reflected in your countenance countenance whenever you're in public. And just let stuff go that doesn't matter.
I had someone pulling out onto a busy roadway going to work a couple of week or so ago, and the woman who had to brake a little bit because I was really trying to accelerate to not slow down traffic, and was flipping me the bird and honking the horn. Then of course the light was maybe a fourth of a mile away, and she was sitting right next to me at the light. So it's Metro Atlanta. It doesn't matter how fast you go. You're
as
just
long
going
as
to the
traffic's
next
moving
traffic
in
light.
Atlanta, you're in good shape.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, the thing is like, in that, the Marietta area, you're just going to the next traffic light.
Yep.
So, I mean,
it does not matter.
You're not, you can't go straight to where you're going. You're going to be at that next traffic light, no matter how fast you go. Anyway, man, so I wanted to ask Arla one final Bigfoot question, just so that the Bigfoot community does not slay us like dragons. Arla, make this a quick hitter, two-parter, but the first part is, what is a safe distance? What do you consider a safe distance when you're in their presence? Do you try to keep a certain distance?
No, I've been touched many times.
Touched?
Yeah,
okay.
Literally touched. I had a grandfather walk up to my tent and stick his hand inside the tent and lay his hand across my stomach.
Wow.
I've been touched by the kids many times. It's all about respect. Why are you, up here? People say, oh my gosh, don't look them in the eyes. If you respect somebody, you're going to look them in the eye. You're not going to look away. These are not animals that you're challenging. This is somebody many people want to know and to know about. So it's just simple. Be respectful. Be respectful.
The feeling running.
What you do.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The feeling running through you when you're in their presence. Is it different than when you're in the presence of another human, in terms of the energy or the vibe?
Well, even humans have their own vibe, and there are a lot of humans that I might be up next to that I might move away from. Most of the time now, I just have a happy feeling that they're around or they're close or, whatever. There are times when energetically, yes, you really feel it. I had a man tell me one night while we were down in the Comanche Mountains, and one had walked up on the other side of a cedar tree and was quite tall. And I was just standing there, and I said something to him like I would anything. And that the guy said, "Man, you got a steal." And I said, "No, I don't. I'm just respectful." And so it's number one, be respectful. Be respectful to yourself, as well. I've felt their energy when it would nearly knock you off your feet. I felt their energy when all I did was laugh and giggle. And I could move back away from them and I wouldn't laugh and giggle. I could go closer and I just start laughing and giggling. So it's whatever you reflect gets reflected back to you.
During my dating life, some women would giggle when I would get close and back. I don't know if that's the same.
Hey now.
Anyway, not important. So let's go with Cabby goodbyes, because we're just gonna have to save everything else for a part 2. Tim, first you, please, with Cabby goodbyes.
Yep. One thing I read about Terry, he said, also you got to have respect. When you go out in the woods, you find yourself, and my goodbye is, I can really relate to this because I just got back from Roswell, New Mexico. So I think it's the same with UFOs, with paranormal. If you just get off your screens, head out somewhere, next thing you know, you might find yourself at a UFO crash site and you didn't even know what was going to happen. So get out there, look for the truth.
That you were supposed to be saying goodbye and thank you. There wasn't a goodbye in there.
And you're welcome.
I love coaching. Dr. Mount says, if I was his coach, I'd be like, you're on the bench until you can follow directions. Sit on the end of the bench and grab the Gatorade bottle.
It was an interpretive goodbye.
Okay. I'm sorry, Nietzsche or Nitschke, whatever it was last time. Go ahead, Debs.
And I should have asked him to look for those 3 aliens I left there by accident when I was there. Seriously, 3 aliens that I bought for my kids, left them there.
I could have tried to replace them at least for you.
Yeah, it was very sad. So I very much appreciate you coming back to talk to us, Terry. And thank you for coming, Arla. It was a pleasure to meet you and to also share the common experience of things being under the bed. I'm so glad I'm not alone with that. And we truly appreciate you coming and sharing your experiences with us. So thank you both for coming today.
You're quite welcome. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's been a true pleasure. You guys have been a delight. Welcome back anytime. Terry and Arla, I hope you found another home here with us at Calling All Beings. And of course, all the listeners and folks in the chat, really appreciate you guys being here as well. It's just been a really great conversation. And it warms my heart to hear where the conversation is going with this topic. And it just gives me hope for the future. So thanks very much for all that you do.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry that you guys had to watch my cat battling. I've never had to battle with her in front of the microphone except last week and this week. And I think it's because my wife is sleeping and she let Hera in the room to make me get off air. So anyway, luckily she's behaving right now so I could say goodbye. It's, you guys are just as amazing, a pair of folks, just beautiful souls that as we've ever had on the show. And we've had some, souls that are like you, but you guys remind us of those people who come on here and inspire us to continue doing this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your time to come on Cab and have a discussion. It's not a traditional interview, as you can tell. It's very conversational in nature. But next time, I hope to delve deeper into how you discovered, how you two became friends, like the first meeting, and then some more of your experiences next time. So, but thank you so very much, Arla Williams and Terry Windell. I really, really appreciate it.
Anytime. And that's a story that's pretty interesting too, is mine and Arla's first meeting. We'll save that
for part 2. Yes, we will. I will find a place on the calendar to have you back, because I think the response we're getting, as everybody loved you as much as we did. Julie, thank you so much for making it in tonight. I don't know how you do it, but I'll be in touch with you about what the big news is. And on behalf of Arla and Terry and Nathan and Debs, and of course, Dr. Tim Mounts, who will come off the bench in this next quarter. This is DJ saying peace out, one love. We'll see you down the road, and we always wonder what's up around the bend.